Morgan Housel, The Psychology of Money. Welcome back to Wealth-ology. For today's video, we will be going to talk about The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Let's get started. Number 1. Pay the price. Let's imagine you're in the market for a new, excellent watch. You go to the store to see what's available. You want something that will amaze your buddies as well as the attractive lady you're dating. You now have the option of paying for the watch or stealing it and fleeing. You've completed your cardio, right? Regardless of your physical capabilities, you would choose option 1. You'd get your card out and swipe that thing. You do the correct thing. The point is that you're aware that getting a new watch comes at a cost. Investing is the same way. It comes at a cost. A somewhat concentrated portfolio is one of the recurring lessons for strong returns, with Peter Lynch possibly being the exception. The focused portfolio has one characteristic that will affect your performance: volatility. This is the cost or fee of having high long-term returns in the stock market. If you don't have the stomach to stay the course when your net worth drops 20% in a week because two of your key holdings announce quarterly earnings that fall short of analysts' expectations, don't try to optimize your returns. The better the returns, the higher the change. Let's pretend you could see Netflix's bright future 10 years ago. You put a significant amount of your net worth into the stock. If that were the case, you'd be quite wealthy today. Could you, however, afford to pay the fare for this journey? During this time, Netflix has experienced numerous severe setbacks. Would you have stayed abroad that boat in 2011 when Netflix lost a ton of users and the stock price plummeted by 80% in the months that followed? Your portfolio's performance would be dismal. What would you say to your partner or children? Could you stand up to them, knowing that you may have put their future in jeopardy? Would you still believe it's a good idea to binge watch Netflix? Of course, this is an extreme example, but even if you take a less extreme approach to investing than Netflix, you'll still have to pay the price of volatility. Assume you purchase an S&P 500 index fund in 1980, when your investment portfolio was down 20% from its peak. You'd still have to wait another 13 years, and it was down 50% for about 8 months. That's a challenge. Stock market trading is a wonderful thing that allows you to build wealth like few other possibilities. But don't kid yourself. It doesn't come cheap. Volatility will be experienced by all investors, but you must view it as a cost of a better future. Number 2. Never enough. Warren Buffett said, "It's a very interesting phenomenon that you can hand somebody a $2 million bonus, and they're fine until they find out that the person next to them got a $12 million one. And then they're sick for the next year." Capitalism excels at producing two things: riches and envy. The desire to outperform your neighbors, peers, and friends might help you stay motivated in your efforts. Make a conscious effort to make it. Of course, being inspired to be more productive and accomplish meaningful work is a positive thing, but social comparison can make us feel inadequate. Let's have a look at the numbers. You'd have to earn roughly $500,000 per year to be in the top 1 of earners in the United States. By nearly any metric, that's how much a highly specialized doctor, let's call him Bill, makes. Bill is a wealthy individual. He can afford to drive good cars, take long holidays to exotic locations, pay someone to do a job that he considered to be monotonous, and so on. Bill feels pleased with himself and what he has accomplished monetarily in his life. That is, until he purchased a vacation property in Hamptons. He understood that Stan was his next neighbor. Stan is in the top 1% of 1%. He is the CEO of a huge public firm with an annual salary of $10 million. You'd think that at the very least, Stan would be happy with his financial achievements. But nope. This individual was a boyhood buddy of Michael Jordan, and this legendary basketball star is a member of the 1% of the 1%. And compared to Michael's estimated income of $2 billion, Stan's yearly salary of $10 million appears insignificant. Is this the end? That is not the case, because Michael occasionally attends celebrity parties where Jeff Bezos makes an appearance. Bezos in the top of 1% of the 1% of the 1%. In 2020, he boosted his net worth by roughly $75 billion, bringing it to almost $200 billion. A bigger fish is constantly lurking nearby. Throughout history, the type of envy that has arisen from such comparisons had led many people to do unwise actions. Some people has over-leveraged their assets in order to climb the corporate ladder, only to lose everything and commit suicide. Some people have acted on insider information and have lost their personal reputation, as well as their freedom after going to prison. As a result of their abandonment of their family, many people have had their partners abandon them or cheat on them or both. You must understand that enough is enough at some time. Warren Buffett said, "We will not trade something that we have and need for something that we don't have and don't need, even if we'd kind of like to have it." Number 3. Crazy is in the eye of the beholder. At a primary glance, it looks as if lots of humans do crazy matters with their money. Some spend it in ridiculous quantities on ridiculous items, and others conceal it below their mattresses. But the component to recall is that humans come from special backgrounds, with special childhoods, special parents, special existence studies, and special educations. All of this provides as much as a special views and values. What appears loopy to you would possibly make the overall appearance for me. Morgan makes use of the instance of lottery tickets inside the book. The bottom profits families inside the US spends extra than $400 in steps with 12 months at the lottery. This is, for instance, extra than the common within the maximum profits group. Combine this with the reality that extra than a third of Americans cannot give you $400 of an emergency. Do those humans spend their emergency buffer on lottery tickets? Seems loopy, doesn't it? But again, we don't have an equal angle as individuals. Try to look at it from their angle. They stay paycheck to paycheck, with little room to store money, and they regularly lack schooling, and as a consequence, a pleasant professional tragedy. They can't manage to pay for a pleasant excursion or a brand new car, but they can't position their youngsters through university without a mountain of debt. Buying a lottery price tag is their manner of purchasing into the dream that lots of us already stay. That is why they purchase extra lottery tickets than we do. Not so loopy in the end, perhaps? So, how does this make you a higher investor? For one component, by acknowledging that we're special. We turn out to be much less tempted to copy a funding portfolio or method which doesn't match our very own goals. For example, our very own risk profile is probably better than a billionaire, as our very own attention is extra on the getting wealthy part, and now no longer a lot about staying wealthy. Copying the billionaire's portfolio is probably suboptimal to your goals. Acknowledging differences also can assist us to mention no extra without problems to investments which are out of doors, our very own circle of competence. Take GameStop, for example. As I am now no longer a trader, I didn't take a part in this drama at all. It is in reality now no longer my card to play. Understanding special people's view, or at the least that there are special lenses to look the sector through, will assist your making a higher experience of our society and lead you in the direction this is yours. Number 4. Peekaboo. What do the Great Depression, World War II, the economic crisis, and COVID-19 all have in common? They have been all activities which formed our society, that had big effects on the economic markets, and that they have been quite an awful lot not possible to foresee. Nassim Taleb, who's certainly considered one of the best authors, might discuss those occasions as black swans. The definition of a black swan is that 1. It's an outlier. Nothing that has occurred earlier than can convincingly factor to even the opportunity of the occasion. 2. It incorporates an intense impact. 3. It will become explainable after the fact. Human nature fools us into believing that we're capable of realizing it might take place all along. Imagine it's Miles' Black Monday 1987. How might you have got reacted to the marketplace losing nearly 1/4 of its fee in a single day? Would you have been one of the peoples that shouted, "Sell, sell"? Or might you have been capable of climate storm, possibly installing extra chips that you've stored at the sidelines? Here's a thrilling fact. If you invested inside the S&P 500 index 20 years ago, however, you neglected out at the 4 excellent acting inventory marketplace days, you'd have a 164% go back as opposed to 291%. That's pretty a large difference. The ethical of this is that it's miles greater beneficial to put together yourself, each mentally and financially for a catastrophe that you cannot foresee, then hoping that you're capable of react earlier than everybody else. Stop taking note of macro projections, the matters with a view to propose large worries. Some of the funding networks with inside the destiny are the matters which are not going to be foreseen anyways. 5. The seduction of pessimism. We have a tendency to allow you a bunch of reasons to why the market can crash later this year, mentioning the large North American nation governmental debt, that stimulation checks could cause the comeback of inflation, and maybe one thing regarding new strains of COVID-19. You'd presumably be intrigued, and perhaps find yourself with quite a negative read of wherever within the market cycle that we are at the moment. To give you samples of why things in all probability will still get better by showing however lifetime is rising, how property energy is obtaining cheaper, or how computing power is exploding, you'd presumably simply shrug your shoulders and not debate regarding it. We have a tendency to all grasp that hopeless person, therefore so terribly intelligent, and therefore the human sounds naive in comparison. Why is that? Daniel Kahneman, the author of Thinking Quick and Slow, says partiality towards loss and being attentive to pessimists is an organic process trait. When directly compared or weighed against every other, losses loom larger than gains. Organisms that treats as additional imperative than opportunities have a far better likelihood to survive and reproduce. We have a tendency to tend to concentrate to pessimists more carefully, not just for evolutionary reasons. However, conjointly as a result of progress happens a lot of slower than setbacks do. Progress seldom happens overnight. but setbacks usually does. As a result of tragedies, associate degree setbacks happened throughout much shorter time periods. It's much easier to form an intriguing and persuading story around it, and so it receives additional attention. To form an optimistic story regarding the future, we have a tendency to should scrutinize longer time horizons. This often becomes vanguard and fewer dramatic, knowing that you just can maybe more fascinated by a pessimist and less so by an optimist, will perhaps assist you turning into less uneven toward it within the future. The world is healthier than you think. As Sweden's Hans Rosling would have said, so you're not reaching to get wealthy within the stock exchange while not paying the worth of volatility. Envy is that the worst of the 7 deadly sins. Near risk what you've got and want for what you don't have and don't need. Totally different views cause different courses of actions to be affordable or rational. Rather than attempting to foresee disasters, prepare yourself mentally and financially so you'll be able to survive them. And take care once taking investment advice. Perceived that pessimism appeals additional to your survival instincts than optimism does. So, how did you like this topic? What was your takeaway from this topic? Please let me know in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe to our channel for more. Thank you for taking the time to watch. Stay tuned for our next video.